And that 5% contribution from the government is really going to add up. So it is a big win, I think, for the majority of people. The fact that we still have a pension period in the military is still awesome for those that do stay. And it's incredibly rare. Most people past our parents' generation, or even a lot in our parents' generation, have already lost their pension. It's been significantly reduced, or it was never an offering for their company. So there are a lot of benefits in the BRS for sure.
Welcome to the Military Money Manual podcast, where every episode is all about achieving financial independence in the military faster than before. We believe personal finance shouldn't be boring or intimidating. Building wealth can be simple, and financial freedom is the ultimate financial goal. Now, here's your hosts, Spencer and Jamie.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Military Money Manual podcast. Spencer Reese here from militarymoneymanual.com, joined by Jamie. You might notice the audio quality is not up to our usual standards on this episode. We're both traveling. Jamie's at a conference in Texas, I believe, and I'm actually in Berlin, Germany. So we've got a bit of a remote episode.
More than normal.
More remote than normal, although we're pretty remote normally anyways. Yeah. Hey, today on the podcast, we are talking about the blended retirement system. So this is the military retirement system that you were able to opt into back in 2018. The entire year you were able to opt into it. I actually did opt into it. Jamie did not. And Jamie stayed in the legacy high 3 system. And now it's been almost 7 years. So it's almost 2025. And we just wanted to kind of have a breakdown and understand how is the transition going from the legacy system to the blended retirement system, to the BRS, and also give a very high level overview, what you need to know as a military service member or a military spouse about the blended retirement system.
You mentioned, Spencer, that people still get a pension. I think maybe part of that confusion is because there is a reduced pension compared to the legacy system. So how is the pension calculated under the BRS?
Yeah, so for the BRS pension, it's 2% of your pay per year of service. And you have to serve a minimum of 20 years in order to be eligible, 20 years of active service. And there's calculators that you can use and to determine how your Guard and Reserve pensions are earned. But you have to serve a minimum. If you do a traditional 20-year active duty service, you'll earn your pension at 2% per year. So if you serve 20 years, you earn a 40% pension. If you serve 25 years, you earn a 50% pension. So there is still a pension component to the blended retirement system. And really the blended retirement system is made up of 3 main components. So you have the 2% per year of service pension that starts after 20 years. So if you serve 20 years, you're going to get a minimum 40% pension. That's 40% of your base pay. So that's important when you're thinking about how much pension can I potentially earn. You can't just look at your overall paycheck. You have to look just at base pay.
Did it still take the average of your most recent 3 years and then do 2% of that?
Yeah, that's right, Jamie. It's the same under the high 3 legacy system. So it's the average of the highest 36 months of basic pay received is going to be how they calculate your 2% per year of service. So again, let's say that your base pay average for the last 36 months of service is $5,000 per month, then you're going to receive 40% of that, which is $2,000 per month. If you multiply that over 12 months, then you're getting $24,000 per year. Give you a little bonus there. So $24,000 per year if you were making $5,000 base pay. And a lot of military benefits are untaxable allowances like BAH, BAS, COLA, cost of living allowance. So you might be kind of shocked when you do start receiving your 40% pension. Like it can be not just a 60% haircut on your pay, but it could be almost be a 70 or 80% reduction in your pay. So just make sure that when you're calculating how much pension that you're going to earn after 20 years, that you're being realistic with the number and you're looking at just the base pay and you understand that it's going to be 2% per year service. Okay, so that's the kind of the first leg of the triad, the BRS triad. The other 2 are employer matching and continuation pay.
Yeah, employer matching is one of the ones that people really love. And we talk about a lot on the podcast. I think people understand this, that there is a 1% contribution to your retirement account, your TSP. If you're listening to this, you probably know about the TSP, but it's the employer-sponsored retirement plan, kind of like the 401k for your family members or civilian friends you talk to. in your TSP, they do an automatic 1% of your base pay contribution after 60 days of service. And then after 24 months of service, they do an additional 4%. And that's where you hear about the 5% matching. So after 2 years, the BRS matches you 5%, as long as you're contributing at least 5% for that month of your base pay.
That's starting in the 26th month of service. So if you enlisted or commissioned in June of 2020, let's say for easy math, then by July of 2022, you should see the 5% match going in there. And if you look on my pay under your retirement plan, it should say blended, or I think the D's cut off. So it just says like blendy or something like that. But that's just what we get for using like the finest 1960s payment technologies. The match, Jamie, I think that's the reason why I switched, right? Like I was in the legacy system. I knew I was planning on getting out early before I'd earned my 20-year retirement. That's why I switched. And that enables people to join the military and don't end up serving the full 20 years. Even if they don't contribute more than, let's say, 5% to their TSP, they're still going to get that 100% match, right? So if you put in 5%, the government puts in 5%, and you've easily doubled your money just because of the matching contributions. A couple things to note with the BRS TSP match. If you are in the lucky position where you can maximize your TSP contributions. So for 2024, we're looking at $23,000. And for 2025, we're looking at $23,500. You're going to want to be careful not to maximize your contribution before the end of the year. So the match is only paid if you make a minimum of 5% contribution for every month that you're eligible. I mean, I used to max out my TSP by August of any given year, and then I would just take the additional money and put it into other investment accounts. However, under the BRS, that's suboptimal, right? You're going to want to leave at least 5% contributions towards the end of the year. I think the easiest thing to do is just calculate your contribution over the entire year and then just send it once in December or November of the year prior, or even in January if you're a little bit late to the game. And then you can just make that contribution throughout the year. And then that ensures that at the end of the year, October, November, December, you're still making at least 5% contributions monthly to your TSP out of your MyPay, and you're going to receive that full 5% match.
And the third pillar of the BRS system that we talked about in episode number 128 with Brandon Levenger, the enlisted money guy, is the continuation pay. This varies by service, somewhere between 8 to 12 years of service, and it's determined by that branch. So a reservist in the Marines is going to have a different offering than a reservist in the Air Force, different than an active duty Army, different than active duty Marine, et cetera.
Yeah, so there's a great summary chart that you can find, militarypay.defense.gov/blended retirement, or you can just Google continuation pay rates 2024 PDF and it'll pop up. But like right now, for example, in 2024, all services are offering the continuation pay bonus under the BRS. They all have a 4-year additional obligation. However, you can serve that concurrently with other obligations. So a lot of people ask about, like, what if, especially in the Air Force, what if I accept a pilot bonus and the continuation pay bonus? You can serve them both at the same time. Same thing with PCS obligations as well, active duty service commitments. The Army, Marine Corps, and Navy have references. So they've actually published guidance where the Air Force apparently has not published any guidance on this. It's just the Wild West over here in the Air Force. If you're in the Air Force, you're looking at 2.5 times on your monthly base pay. So if you're making, let's say, $10,000 a month, you could get a $25,000 bonus, which is pretty nice. And that's only during the active component, though. The reserve component is actually only a 0.5x multiplier. So you only get half your monthly base pay. For the Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, NOAA, it's offered in your 12th year of service. For the Army, it's offered between your 8th and 12th year of service. So there's a range there. Interestingly, the Army is offering a higher bonus for their reservists. So they have a 4x bonus for the reservists versus a 2.5x for active components. And it looks like the Marines are desperate to retain some active duty in their 12th year of service. So they have a 5x multiplier on the active duty side. That's pretty nice if you're thinking about re-upping in the Marine Corps there.
You may be asking yourself, why did the DoD make this change? It's complicated, hard to keep up with, lots of reprogramming of legacy computer systems and things like that. And the bottom line is they did it to save money, and personnel is a huge cost in the DoD. budget. And so they did it to save money because a 50% pension to 40% pension reduced it substantially. But we know that most people don't make it to retirement. So for those of you 80% or higher that don't do 20 years of service, you walk away with effectively nothing other than your experience, your friendships, hopefully not mental issues, but you walk away with no financial thing under the legacy system other than maybe VA benefits. But here with the BRS, you have something. So it does help the majority of people have some kind of matching dollars to leave with in their retirement account.
Yeah, I think, Jimmy, a lot of people were skeptical when the plan came out and all they focused on was, the pension is being reduced by 20% per equivalent year of service. If you're a glass half empty kind of person, you can look at it that way.
Or if you like money.
But yeah. Oh yeah, or if you like money. But, you take an example like me where I left before 20 years and all I'm walking away with is the 5% match that I received for the last couple of years of service. It's a nice addition to my retirement account. I actually look at it as a win-win situation where, yes, the Department of Defense needed to cut costs, especially with their retirement budget, but they found a way that can incentivize saving. I ran the numbers on this back when I was deciding to make the switch. And if you can get a reasonable rate of return inside your TSP, you can actually end up better off over your lifetime, or at least get close to break even when you make contributions to your TSP and you earn the 40% BRS pension. So in the long run, especially in the next 10 or 15 years, when all the legacy high three people start retiring or phasing out or just separating, and BRS is the only game in town, I think the education will be better, first of all. So people will stop telling their troops that there is no pension. There is a pension, and it's just been reduced a little bit. Once it's the BRS, the blended retirement system, is the only game in town, then people will say, oh, you know what? This isn't such a bad system, especially with the automatic 5% contribution that resets every January to the TSP. And the default TSP option is now life cycle 20XX. So it's your birth year plus 60 is now the default option for the TSP, which is way better than G-Fund being the default option.
That's exactly what I was going to emphasize, is just the fact that they are encouraging saving through some of the BRS changes is very clutch, very helpful, because they're going to automatically enroll you, just to emphasize this, automatically enroll you in 5% contributions of your base pay to the most applicable life cycle fund. You can turn it off if you need to, but then the next January, they're going to re-enroll you automatically 5% to the most applicable life cycle fund. It's just showing how important it is for people to be saving for their future. And even if you never do more than 5%, we would want you to, we encourage you to, we want you to try to, but there might be some years where 5% is all you can do, but 5% from you and 5% contribution from the government is 100% an initial return. And then, especially early on in your career, that money's going to grow for 3 or 4 more decades. And that 5% contribution from the government is really going to add up. So it is a big win, I think, for the majority of people. The fact that we still have a pension period in the military is still awesome for those that do stay. And it's incredibly rare. Most people past our parents' generation, or even a lot in our parents' generation, have already lost their pension. It's been significantly reduced, or it was never an offering for their company. So there are a lot of benefits in the BRS for sure.
Yeah, I think it really does combine kind of the best aspects of, you have this guaranteed inflation adjusted government pension that when they start cutting costs, or if they ever do start cutting costs, like, it'll be the last item to go. Both political parties, no one is talking about cutting military pensions. So it'll be the last thing to ever go. But it also combines, the BRS does combine the guaranteed pension with an opportunity to invest in the stock market, both domestic in the US and international around the world, through the TSP. The TSP is a fantastic investment opportunity, and we're really big fans of it. We actually have a TSP course, militarymoneymanual.com/TSP. You can go check that out. And it's free if you're an E4 or below, because we really believe that is the perfect age and opportunity and stage of life to start contributing to your TSP. And you can really reap the benefits of small contributions and long time horizons and slow compounding growth.
Just a quick note from one of our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to the show.
Hey, Spencer, I got a cousin that just graduated from high school, and they're about to start basic training in a few months. Any ideas on a gift I should get him?
Yep, sure do, Jamie. The Military Money Manual, a practical guide to financial freedom,
is a concise, easy to read, and practical guide to your military money. It's the book that I wish someone had handed me on my first day in the military. In the book, I explain the exact money tactics and investing strategies that can enable you to achieve financial independence while serving in the U.S. military. It's available on Amazon, Audible, and my website. It's hardcover, paperback, ebook, Kindle, and audiobook. You can get a special discount using promo code podcast on my website, shop.militarymoneymanual.com.
Jamie, one of the biggest pitfalls I see about the BRS is that continuation pay is not automatic. So you have to opt into it and obligate yourself to 4 years. Like, I understand why they haven't made it automatic because of the additional 4 years of obligated service. But I think that needs to be addressed. I think that needs to be either an opt-out system, or you can opt in. And then if you depending on how many years you serve, you can pay back, years that you didn't serve. There has to be some way to make this a better system where I think it almost should be the default option. If you're coming up on 12 years of service and you haven't indicated that you're separating and there's this pot of money there and you've made all indications that you're going to be continuing to serve to 20 years. I don't know. There needs to be some kind of automated process in place where people don't miss the opportunity to get the continuation pay. Because knowing the people that I know in the military, there's going to be a lot of jabronis that just they don't listen. It doesn't matter how many times you brief them. It doesn't matter how many emails you send to them. They're just too busy. They're too distracted, and they're not looking out for themselves. And they're going to get to 15 years and be like, oh, wait, I could have had $20,000 3 years ago? And they're just going to, and then they're going to go and complain to their congressman, and then hopefully they'll do something about it. But yeah, it seems like it's kind of a strange system where there's this opportunity to get this money, and people are just, I think a lot of people are just going to sleep on it.
At a minimum, I feel like the services should be able to provide a list of who's eligible, of who's coming up. But for the supervisors out there, for leaders, senior NCOs, commander types, it should be pretty easy to pull a roster of who's approaching 12 years of service, or 8 to 12 or 10 years, depending on your service. That should be pretty easy to pull from your S1 or your commander support staff. Maybe that's a temporary fix, is be a little more proactive with that, to have that conversation. But yeah, it would really, really stink to find out that I missed this by a day with a pretty substantial bonus and not know about it. But the other potential pitfall, I think, Spencer, in this is a lump sum option. So the lump sum allows you to take up to 50% of your retirement pay from your age that you're currently at up to age 67 up front. We kind of hesitate to bring it up because it's probably not a great deal for most people. A guaranteed inflation adjusted pension for life is going to be much more valuable, but there may be some situations where taking that fills a need that you have if you don't have a good plan for retirement or things like that. So just know that it's there. Be very careful with it. Meet with your free financial counselor on base or on post before you make a decision like that on the lump sum option of the BRS.
Yeah, and I would also throw out there, if you want to pay for to talk to a CFP, hellonectarine.com/r/military is that's our referral link. We'll get a little bit of a commission. This is not paid advertising from them, but and you'll also get 10% off as well. But I really believe in what they're doing over there, where they're offering fee only financial advice, and it's between $150 to $250 an hour right now. And there's no commissions, there's no upsells. This is not First Command. They are just giving you advice. They don't want to manage your money. If you went and had a conversation with them about the lump sum, I would say probably 99% of advisors, depending on your personal situation, are going to steer you away from sacrificing 50% of your pension for the next, what could be, 10, 20 years, and to take it up front. And it's going to be discounted. That's the other thing too. There's a discount rate. It's updated every year. It's based on inflation. They're going to discount the amount of your pension over that time period from when you retire to age 67. The only other thing about the lump sum option is at age 67, it does kick back into your full amount, your full COLA, cost of living adjusted amount. It's not all terrible.
But it's 20 or 25 years for a lot of people.
Yeah, if you're in the position where you think you need to take the lump sum, you're probably exactly the person who should not take the lump sum. So, again, I didn't even want to mention it, but it is one of the options available. Do your research, but I almost want to say don't do your research. Don't even think about the lump sums. If you make it to 20 years, just take your 40% pension and be happy and collect your inflation adjusted retirement paycheck for the rest of your life.
Hey, listener, there's one last thing I want to leave you with, and this is just a personal recommendation for an app I found, other than the memory point that there is a pension with the BRS. In the App Store, there's an app I found a few months ago. It's not ours, but Military Money, Pay and Pension. And this free app does a really good job, I think, from what I've seen so far, of taking your current situation, summarizing your current pay, and looking at your possible pension, whether you're legacy or BRS. So you can put on all your pay grade, your current rank, your date of birth, your date of initially entered military service, all this information. Long story short, it spits out what your pension would be. It accounts for disability, it accounts for TRICARE costs, VGLI, your life insurance as a veteran, your SVP, your survivor benefit plan. You can estimate your taxes, all those things, including what your future value of your TSP based on how much is in there right now and what you plan to contribute still. This app that I found, I've enjoyed looking at it, playing with the numbers and seeing exactly what my pension might be if I stick it out for 20 years since I'm still active duty. And again, that's Military Money, Pay and Pension is the app that I recommend to play around with based on what I've seen so far.
Awesome. Thanks for that recommendation, Jamie. Yeah, it's good to find and recommend resources, especially when they're free like that. So do you know how they make money?
I don't know. Maybe I'll reach out to them if there's a way. If anyone knows them, that'd be cool.
All right, listener. So once again, BRS, pretty good system. You're stuck with it anyway, so you might as well learn to love it. 3 main components of the BRS triad. You get the guaranteed inflation-adjusted military pension, retirement pay. That kicks in 2% per year of service, and that starts after 20 years of active duty service. You also have the employer, the DoD matching. So the Department of Defense is going to throw in 1% of your base pay monthly into the thrift savings plan, the TSP, and they'll match up to 5%. So if you contribute 5%, they contribute 5%. And that starts after 2 years of service in the 25th month of service. And you get full vesting after 2 years of service. And then finally, you've got continuation pay that's offered between 8 to 12 years at a multiple of your base pay. You can check out episode 128, where we talked with Brandon Lovinger about continuation pays and some of the pitfalls, especially in the Army right now, about that program. If you got any questions, you can hit us up on Instagram at Military Money Manual. We got a lively conversation going there with a lot of people. So thanks for everybody who reaches out on there. And then if you're more old school, we got podcast at militarymoneymanual.com. You can shoot us an email and Jamie or I will respond to it. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Military Money Manual podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
The views and opinions presented here are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the views of the DoD or its components. Reference to any commercial products or services does not constitute DoD endorsement of those products or services.